And speaking of an awakening world, here is the author of that same of a book with the same title. Welcome back, Reya Manna.
Thank you so much, Scott. So nice to be here.
So here's my question for you. I know that you've been spending time with your family, with your son and your daughter. So as a mother, what's it like, the kind of the contrast of all that's going on in the world, both exciting and scary, and being a mother of two children whose whole future is ahead of them? How are you doing with that?
Ah, great question, deep question, and it's kind of the real life application of the epigenetics challenge. um, I'm on a family vacation, so I'm here with my mother and my brother and our whole family and my children. And it's actually been a bit of a challenge. What I've really been witnessing this year is the fluctuation of extreme polarities of great challenge and triggers, and then the overcoming of those challenges and triggers. And so, being with my family, it's all very heightened, and it feels to reflect so much of the volatility of the world. And I'm doing my best to recognize where these, I mean, it's old standing patterns that usually, because I'm in California and having conversations like this and doing my best to bring love and joy to the world and uplift people, um, I have a different experience of reality. But then when you get down to it, and, my brother's mad at me for not being a better sister, that's like the kind of real time application of a lot of these principles. And, um, some things that had been super alive for me lately is this awareness of alchemy. And it's been feeling like, for me, I, over the last many months, and especially around the summer solstice, it felt like this real increase of my my being in touch with very deep wounding and pain from childhood, and long standing pain that I hadn't, I knew was there, but I hadn't ever felt it or experienced it. So a lot of this, this pain or hurt or wounding or old stories have been coming up and circulating for me. And what I've recognized is it feels like at this time, this like heightened threshold of this awakening that we're going through planetarily and the shift in consciousness is that we're facing these old stories so that we can alchemize them. We're getting to this threshold of, oh my gosh, this feels so bad. It feels like there's no hope, but that's the old story. And I keep getting present to now is new, and now everything is okay. So it's one thing to theorize about these things, and it's another thing to kind of walk through the fire in the face of my own stories and wounding, and my own feeling of places where I may have disappointed someone or let someone down. And, over time, and actually while I was writing the book, The Awakening World, I was being shown that our energy leaks are a byproduct of our unhealed wounds and places where we haven't learned our power fully. Places where we want to help, places where we want to react, any place that takes us outside of the present moment can be an energy leak. So much of this process for me has been about self mastery and seeing those things where I am reactive. And some people may tend to be reactive in the way of anger. Some people may tend to be reactive in the way of sadness or self doubt, or, thinking that things aren't going to work out. So, this is really alive for me because I'm here with my family in the middle of a bit of the fire. So I'm trying to be as graceful as I can in answering your question.
And by the way, I'll add for the audience to understand, this California girl is with her family in New Jersey. So just a different culture, different dynamic. You know, um, I had just one of the great blessings of my life was to spend time with Ram Dass. As I was growing up, I totally idolized him. And as fate would have it, we both lived in Marin County and we ended up coming together and doing some projects together. So I got to know him and develop a friendship with him. And Ram Dass has a great quote. Well, he has a thousand great quotes, but one of them is, "You think you're enlightened? Spend a week with your family." Right?
Yes.
And there it is. That's the his father used to call him Rum Dum, you know, yo, Rum Dum, instead of Ram Dass. Um, so anyway, I'm thinking of Ram Dass in this moment as I'm thinking of what you're working with.
Thank you.
So, how do you process that when you're with people that don't relate to the California kind of good vibe, you know, life is beautiful, we're all creating an awakening world, it's all going to work out. When you're with people that have a very, very different reality, um, how do you manage your own self-talk? And then how do you manage your communication?
I mean, I think truly, I know the goal is to come to that space of love, that place of love that I access when everything is going the way I want it to go, but accessing that space of love when it seems like there's a conflict, and to be able to hold both simultaneously. Geraldine had said something about we contain like the victim and the oppressor within us. And so just, trying to recognize that there's this pendulum swing of our experience. And, sometimes it sways to one side and sometimes to the other. But if it goes to one side, it's bound to swing back. So somehow finding the space of of center, of love, of compassion, and my son, who's just amazing, he's 19. He says to me today, he says, "Well, Mom, it's better to be real than to just be positive." So, it's like a lot of, I think, we see it a lot in the spiritual community with spiritual bypassing, and it's maybe not dealing with all the layers of the cake, so to speak. We like the frosting or whatever it is, and somehow being able to receive it all. And interestingly, as I was writing the book, The Awakening World, I was looking at the interplay of different archetypes and different kind of prophecies, and I was looking at the Book of Revelation. And in the Book of Revelation, it talks about the return of Christ and the bride of Christ, and the bride of Christ is cleansed and given this white raiment, and then they both ascend into the clouds. Well, this might seem a bit controversial, but before that part of the Book of Revelations, they were talking about the whore of Babylon, who's stained in the garments of sin, and all the iniquities of the people. But I had this kind of moment of feeling that, well, what does a mother do? A mother would never leave her kids. A mother would be stained in the iniquity of her children, taking on the sins and the indiscretions, and and you know so I think a lot of even potential judgments and pigeonholed categories that we have about certain people or situations, even those may be skewed, and finding the redemptive quality in all of it, um, and being able to be compassionate with stories that might not be the story that we're holding for ourselves. But also then I'm thinking about this video that you played at the beginning of the show, which is give power to the women. And some of it is that sometimes we need to stand up for our own self-respect and not just tolerate bad treatment. So it's a balance between holding firm boundaries of what is acceptable, loving, and kind, while simultaneously making sure that we're not rejecting these lost parts. We're embracing things back into ourselves, and holding firm with what is acceptable in this now time and space.
So, how do you apply that? Going back to your son saying, "Come on, Mom, And it's not just being positive, be real, which is a very understandable point of view, especially for, an East Coaster imagining that there's California speak. Um, how do you bridge that gap with him? Like, what was your response to him, if you don't mind my asking?
I mean, I said, like, right on. I mean, he's been dropping so much wisdom on me. I've been recording him. I mean, he
Great.
explained to me the other day how he's noticing how his thoughts pass through, and he can either let them run out or he can close them. And he recognizes while his thoughts are playing out the impact it has on his body reactivity. And as he's sharing this with me, he's like, you just need to watch your thoughts and not let your thoughts run you. Recognize that you have the power of awareness. You can let them run, you can close them out. So, it's like dealing on these multiple levels of deep self inquiry, deep self awareness. We want to watch our own reactivity. But at the same time, if we're constantly in this mode of self reflection and trying to fix ourselves, sometimes we get walked all over by people in the external world that aren't really taking the time to self reflect. They're just wielding the force of their power. So I think there's something to both, an emerging of awareness with groundedness and presence in the physical material plane.
Beautiful. Kind of a very personal question for you, but you had mentioned we had a brief chat by text this morning about your connection with the whale today, that you had this very unique connection with a whale. And so I'm just curious, because I know you're sensitive and I know that you're someone who everything happens for a reason, kind of so how did that impact you? What was in your archetypal landscape? What did that represent for you?
Um, I mean, I went to the beach to pray. Being on the East Coast, I grew up on the East Coast, and so whenever I'm on the actual East Coast, I like to go as close to the sun rising as possible and do. I have a big chanting practice, and in my life, I have a singing school called the Songkeeper School, and I teach sacred singing, earth honoring, and ritual. And so chanting and singing to the land is a big part of um, my love, and also like my coping mechanisms. And so I went and I did a big chanting practice, praying for my family and my son in particular. And it started to rain, but I was really determined to sit there because I get so much joy out of it. So I sat there for 2 hours in the rain. It was pouring rain on me. And when I was done, I finished the practice and I was so excited to start to sing to the water. So as soon as I start to sing to the water, a whale comes up. And now I grew up on the East Coast. I never saw a whale on the East Coast before. They're in Hawaii, they're in California. And I was like, did I really just see a whale, or is that a whole bunch of dolphins all together? So then I keep singing to the water, and then right in front of me, and it was just beyond where the waves started to break. It was so close. The whale jumped straight up and splashed down. And also right around the same time, I had, well, previously in the morning I'd been watching an osprey fly back and forth. And so the whale jumps up and the osprey comes out from the ocean with a fish in its talons.
No.
Yeah. And it just felt like God was like, your prayers, here is the harvest of what you've been sowing. And the whale just kept like flipping around and dancing, and I just kept like blasting all the love in my heart for this whale, and it felt so significant. I felt so loved by the natural world, and I felt like everything was okay. And then I went back into the house to an entirely different reality than that. Um, so, I mean, what I took from it was actually while I was singing, while I was chanting, I connected with that vision I had had of the awakening world. And so the book came through as a many downloads. I began praying for the earth in 2013 and sending energy and blessings to the planet. And after doing that for about 2 weeks, the earth started speaking back. And I would write down these messages, and then I put together this book, The Awakening World. And when I was compiling it, I was thinking, well, how does it end? Like, how does a book of downloads end? And so I prayed for months to show me how the book ended. And one day in meditation, with just tears pouring down my face, I saw this beautiful world that was being built beyond this one. A world made from our love, from our prayers, from our hopes and our dreams, that was in unity consciousness, that was in alignment, that where we worked together with our planet Earth, with one another, in love and joy and the recognition that we all are each other. We cannot be separate. But I felt viscerally the beauty of that world. And this morning, as I was meditating, I tuned into that, and I could see it like in the ocean. I could see the whale. I saw the whale the hour before the whale came, not even knowing it was a possibility to see the whale. So I feel like what I keep being shown is the power of entering these high vibrational states and holding the vision, of the frequencies of love, the frequency of unity, and that it does impact our experience. It does come into our world, and that truly there is this place where heaven is already on earth. And we're kind of in this splitting. I mean, Dolores Cannon said we'd see this bifurcation of worlds where the 3D and the 5D would separate. And it feels just so extreme right now that, like, from the morning to the afternoon to the night, I'm in 5D, I'm back in 3D, I'm in 5D, and sometimes it just feels like it's ripping me to shreds. But I keep seeing again and again the power of when we embrace the unity consciousness, when we embrace this other worldly new hope possibility, like it's so real. So that's my big answer to your question.
I'm very glad I asked. I'm going to read a couple comments, and then I want to comment. Carol Craig just wrote, awesomeness. And Susan writes, put this woman in charge, referring to you. I want to just recap a couple of key choices that Reya Manna made for us all to learn from. I mean, obviously, she had a very extraordinary experience. But look at some of the choices she made. She made the choice, I'm going to go to the beach and I'm going to chant and pray for my family. Right off the bat, it's a big choice. Like, we might think about that, but how often do we take the time to do that? Then it starts to rain. Now we have a really good, well, it's not going to work out. It's raining. I'll go home. She stays for 2 hours in the rain because she's committed to her chanting and her praying. And then she sends the love out to the water. She sends the love out, and the whale responds. I mean, this is a really beautiful, happened today with our guest who was booked a few before today. And I interpret this as a beautiful teaching for us all. It's a beautiful teaching. So thank you for modeling this for us, Reya Manna. Thank you. And thank you to the whale for answering the call. Yeah, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Well, the only thing that could follow that beautiful story would be if you'd be willing to share a song with us.
Oh, yes. Okay. Um, so this song came through last week, and again, I was kind of going through these alchemical peaks and valleys of 3D to 5D and kind of wondering what it was all about. And then this song just poured through, and it had started to come in the week before. Just like if I needed a reminder of what was really going on, the song was like, just keep singing this and it's your reminder. Bow my head and sing my song. The victory is already won. Bow my head and sing my song. The victory is already won. Bow my head and sing my song. The victory is already won. Bow my head and sing my song. The victory is already won. Take the young ones by the hand, lead them to the promised land. It's how we stand together now, that's the part that really counts. Plant your feet on our Mother Earth, plant your heart into the soul of the universe. Remember when you were wild and free and loved completely. Stand up, stand up, stand up, like life depends on us. Faith in the coming, faith in the going, faith in the mystery of the unfolding. Trust in the life that we've come here to live. Trust in the light that we've come here to give. Hear the language of the hawks and storms, reminding us we are never alone. See Creator in every face. Feel this world overflowing with grace. Stand up, stand up, stand up, like life depends on us. Stand up, stand up, stand up, like life depends on us. Stand up and know the truth that you came for. No time to back down, old doors have been closed. Tied to the destiny of this new earth, where freedom reigns and God is for us. Bow my head and sing my song. The victory is already won. Bow my head and sing my song. The victory is already won. Stand up, stand up, stand up, like life depends on us. Stand up, stand up, stand up, like life depends on us. I bow my head, I bow my head, I bow my head, I bow my head, I bow my head and sing my song. The victory is already won.
You go to gallery view, everybody. Let's just send love and twinkles. What an exquisite song, you know. Wow. Carol in the chat box said, fabulous lyrics, Reya. Absolutely. Every one of those lyrics is so strong. Stand up like life depends on us.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that was the message that came through is no matter what we're going through, whatever kind of despair or hurt and pain, that we have to believe in ourselves and we have to keep standing up. I mean, there's, even an energetic, like if someone kind of like someone can zip you up, like raise your energy just a little up, it can consolidate your energy field and bring you into a state of confidence. Simultaneously, someone can zip you down, like kind of collapse you. So it's something about for all of us just to uplift each other, to stand up, to come into that space where we believe in ourselves again. We recognize that life depends on us. This isn't just, we're not passive bystanders to this experiment, that we're part of leading the charge. And so even if we're faced with somebody's angry words or war or whatever it is, that we have to continue to remember that we have something worthwhile to give, that we are divine beings and our divine intelligence came here for a reason, and we have, so much to contribute to the greater good. And those are the only messages that we should allow into our consciousness.
It's amazing how that fits exactly with what Geraldine was saying also. These two extraordinary women who haven't met before, at least I don't believe they have. And you're both in your own ways saying the same thing.
Mm.
Well, we're gonna have more Reya Manna and more Geraldine a little bit later on. Thank you so much. It was exquisite.